I got to have a father-son road trip. My son Austin is more of a friend road trip is what it is. He's 23, almost 24. So I got to fly down to San Diego, and the idea was to meet him and then drive out to Kansas City together, where he's going to medical school this coming fall. And, well, I got into San Diego. Lord willing, I got a safe flight, and Austin picked me up in his '09 Nissan Sentra. And as soon as we pulled away, I heard this whining noise from the transmission. And that's like all I could hear. Like, Austin, what is that? He goes, oh, that's nothing. It's been going on for a while. So I don't even hear it anymore.
Oh, gosh. Oh, wow. You tuned it out.
And that's all I can hear. It's like, that's not a good noise, Austin. And we're going to drive this car to Kansas City, over the Rockies, 100-degree weather, with stuff in it, and both of us.
Nice.
Need faith.
Who's whining now?
The transmission was making me whine, yeah. If you didn't, if you saw on the not Facebook, but GroupMe, I sent up progressive pictures of the trip. Utah and Colorado and Kansas, and then Kansas City. I don't know if you guys have to see those or not. But they were a fun time. One of the pictures was from his apartment window. It was a sunset over downtown, I know you can't see it, downtown Kansas City. And of course, as it got dark, lights came on, and wow, what an apartment to have on the 8th floor of this old hospital right by the med school. We had a great time together, and I said, as more friends to friends, it was encouraging to have that time together. At times, I would slip into dad mode, and Austin would remind me, Dad, I know, and reminding me that, I know you're dad, but I understand some things now, too, in life. But we were having a good time. Some of the speed limits are 80 miles an hour in certain places.
Wow.
And one of those places, Austin's driving, and you see these incredible rock formations with different colors and striations, and he says, I gotta get a picture of that. Dad, hold the wheel. I'm like, he's like, can you slow down? So you might have seen this one picture. Now I've set this up. This is an '07 Camry.
Wow, that's a good one.
Well, remember that whining noise in the transmission? We're traveling north on 15 and 215 and up towards Vegas, and as north of San Bernardino somewhere. It's hot out, it's 100+ degrees, and the car kicks into limpo mode. That's a program default where it don't let you rev the engine to like 2,200 RPMs, and with the idea something's wrong with the car, but we're letting you do this so you can get home with it. So we pulled over, and I think, there's no code. It's not throwing a malfunction indicator lamp and check engine light. And so I'm pouring some water on the TPS, the throttle position system, thinking, it could be that. What is this? I hope it's not a transmission because of that whiny noise. I was like, no, please don't. So I'm thinking something else. And it turns out later it was the transmission, and we had to buy a car in St. George, Utah.
Wow.
Because that limpo mode is not going to let us get up and over the Rockies at 2,200 RPMs. It just wasn't. All right. With stuff in it, and me and Austin in it. And so we went from dealership to dealership and finally found the right car at the right price, and okay, this is it. Took most of Monday, but we got it. And that's it.
Nice.
And the air conditioning worked. And it got us all the way to Kansas City. Got some loose motor and training mounts, but it got us there. So I was happy about that. Didn't want to spend the money, but because the dealership was saying, well, we can get it done by Friday, and it's just going to cost $4,700.
Oh.
Like, that's more than the value of that '09 Sentra. So we decided to do this. So that was something that happened on our road trip. But for us in life, God always tries to tell us something. But we can get just like my son. Oh, I don't even listen to it anymore. It's okay, it's been there a while. Doesn't mean anything. This first point, God talks to us. God talks talks to us. He talks to us with love and compassion. He tries to speak to us as a dad who loves his children. Look over in John chapter 10 with me, if you would. In verse 27, start verse 25. Jesus answered, I did tell you, but you do not believe. The miracles I do in my Father's name speak for me. But you do not believe because you are not my sheep. My sheep listen to my voice, and I know them. They follow me. I give them eternal life. They shall never perish. No one can snatch them out of my hand. This is the Father. This is Jesus saying, God has made you, and he will keep you forever as long as you want to be in that relationship, as long as you listen to his voice, and he will be with you and listen to your voice, and you'll have this relationship together. That God has created you to have a truly communicating type relationship with God. Do I want that, or do I not? Oh yeah, I've heard that noise, that transmission for months now, for years, all my life I've heard a noise like that, and I just got too much stuff to do in life. Yeah, I'll get to it one day. Did you check the transmission fluid, Austin? Oh no, this is the seal kind of transmission. You didn't even have the place to check it. So I'm looking on the hood, it's right there, there's a dipstick right there. I mean, we hear these noises in life, but sometimes we just don't want to do something with them. Can I ignore it, please? I don't want to listen to it. I'll turn the radio up. I'll roll the window down. I'll put on my Spotify from my phone and plug it in with the aux cord and let turn it up. That's what my son does. But God's speaking to us all along. I think sometimes we put this demand on God. Talk to me the way I want, or I'll just say I don't believe, or I just can't get around to it, or I won't be moved. We expect some kind of miracle. We can be in our room alone and think, well, God, if you'll reach over and flick that light switch on, just miraculously, I'll believe. I was in a convenience store down in Temecula, California a number of years ago, and I was talking to the cashier, and I asked him if he'd come to church. He said no. He said didn't believe in God anymore. I said, really? And he goes, yeah, I prayed. I said, why is that? He said, I pray and God doesn't answer my prayers. I said, really? What have you been praying? So I put it to God that he would let me win the $200 million lottery we had. So like, you want God to bribe you to follow him? God created us to love him back with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. To have a relationship with him. Not a relationship where we're bribed to do this, or convinced of some kind of miracle that subdues our doubts. That God's going to coerce us to make us follow him. That's not God's thinking about his children. He wants a relationship, just like you and I get to have relationships with our children. I came in today, and there Stacy was, holding little Kirk. I couldn't resist. I said, ring on your finger, baby in your arms. Dad's like, She's a nanny. But I just couldn't resist. It looked too enticing to say something. But God says, I want this relationship with you. And I'm not going to do things to create something other than a kind of I love you with everything I have, and you love me back with everything you have. I'm not going to do something less than that. Even if it doesn't meet your criteria of what it takes for you to believe in God. Because I don't want simply a religion. I don't want simply you forced to do this. I don't want to do something less than love, where you love me back with everything you have because I've loved you with everything I have. And so what does that mean? Well, look over 1 Kings chapter 19. We see this clearly.
All right, Coach.
Because what it comes down to is, I don't believe because I don't want to. That's what it boils down to in our lives about God. In chapter 19, in verse 11, he says, the Lord said, he's talking to Elijah, Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. He knew it wasn't the fire, it wasn't the earthquake, it wasn't the wind, it was the gentle whisper. That's when he knew this is the Lord. And there's a gentle whisper in our lives every day that we live. There's a gentle whisper in your life. The problem is, we actively choose to let things drown it out. Austin, how long has your transmission been whining like that? Oh, no, Mom, it's a long time. It'll be fine. Something's in our life every day. That question, that noise, that gentle whisper's there. What are you doing with it? It's easy to block it out because God lets us block it out. Because He's about the relationship where you love me back with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. So if there's other things more important that you love more, I'm not going to force you and coerce you to follow me and love me if you're not going to want to. But I will put that whisper in your life every single day. You can turn the volume up. You can put a whole bunch of Spotify songs in your phones. You never have to hear it. You can roll the window down. You can honk the horn. You can do whatever you're going to do. But that whisper will be there every single day. We can listen to it, or we can be distracted. Oh, isn't he cute? Oh, isn't she so, wow, woo! I can put some more hours in and get time and a half overtime, baby! I don't have time for the other stuff right now, but I can do this. I can drive. What kind of car? I can have that kind of, what gentle whisper? Huh? Oh, that whining thing. I'll get to that later. Look over in 1 John chapter 3 with me. Chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, how great is the love the Father has lavished on us. I take this as standing under your arms out underneath some kind of waterfall. There's more water than you can handle, just drenching you and covering you with God's love. He's lavished on us that we should be called children of God. And that is what we are. The reason the world does not know Him, or know us, is that it did not know Him. Wow. Dear children, now we are children of God, and what we will be has not yet been made known. But we know that when He appears, we shall be like Him, for we shall see Him as He is. Everyone who has the hope in Him purifies himself just as He is pure. The motive for our desire to purify ourselves is the relationship. He says the reason the world does not know us is that it did not know Him. Those religious people, I'm tired of them. They're judgmental. They're hypocritical. They're this. They're that. And you know what? That might be partially true. But if we don't know God, we're never going to be inspired by the Christians that follow God. We've got to say, I want to know God. I want to understand His love for me. I want to hear that whisper. And then things start to make sense when I listen to it. But see, I got Spotify turned out. You know, what the Christians do, that's not going to make sense to me. I mean, my buddies and I, before I became Christian, driving around the car. We didn't talk about God. We had no concern about what other people following God do. We were in the car driving down the road, the radio loud, and Louie, that meant check to the left, the hot-looking girl over there. I was like, even the guy driving, and we're, what? It's just the way life was. We're distracted. We're not interested in God. We're not interested in people that follow God, what they're doing. We had our own agenda. We had the music blaring. We had things loud. We were distracted. We wanted to do whatever felt good at the time. God's whisper, what? Bibles? Now, some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get a little older, the distractions change, though. It may not be riding around with a bunch of dudes in a car yelling, Louie! But you start doing other things that distract you. Over in Job chapter 33. This is such a great book about talking about our existence as human beings. I love this. Verse 14 of chapter 33. For God does speak, now one way, now another, though man may not perceive it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on men as they slumber in their beds, he may speak in their ears and terrify them with warnings, turn man from wrongdoing and keep him from pride, to preserve his soul from the pit, grave, his life from perishing on the sword. Or a man may be chastened on a bed of pain, with constant distress in his bones, so that very being finds food repulsive, and his soul loathes the choicest meal. His flesh wastes away to nothing. His bones, once hidden, now stick out. His soul draws near to the pit, the grave, and his life to the messengers of death. Yet, if there is an angel on his side as a mediator, one out of 1,000 to tell a man what is right for him, to be gracious to him and say, spare him from going down to the grave. I have found a ransom for him. His flesh is renewed like a child and is restored as the days of his youth. He prays to God and finds favor with him. He sees God's face and shouts for joy. He is restored to God by his righteous state. He comes to men and says, I sinned and perverted what was right, and did not get what I deserved. He redeemed my soul from going down to his grave, and I will live to enjoy the light. God does all these things to man, twice, even 3 times, to turn back the soul from the pit, the grave, so that the light of life may shine on him. God has very reason for why he whispers to us every day. I want you to be with me for eternity, but I'm not going to make you. I am not going to make you, but I want you with me forever. And I'll even sacrifice myself, and I'll keep whispering in your ear until you breathe your very last breath. That's the love of our Father. Those whispers are testimony to that love. Those things we think, those things we dream, the thoughts in our mind, what somebody says to us, knowing what they said or not. That person who invited you to church, that person who invited you to study the Bible, somebody taking their time to open the scriptures with you, to talk about their relationship with God. That is God whispering in our ear. What do I do with those whispers? You know, the Bible is the most popular book sold in the United States by like 100 million to 200 million copies a year. But it's the least read. You know why? You know why? Because we don't want to hear that whisper. We stiff-arm God because we know if we get in there, it's going to say something to us. And we just want to tune it out. I'll get that later. That's that noise. Yeah, I'll figure that out some other time. But we know something's coming. I heard that whiny transmission. I'm thinking, I hope we can make it to Kansas City. That's what my thought. Oh boy, I hope this works. We have these little whining things going on in our life, these noises, these whispers. I hope I can get to heaven. But we sort of know that's a long shot. If you would, look with me over to Romans chapter 1. Book of Romans. Imagine standing before God, and God said, well, I had all these whisperings going on in your life, daily things being said to you. What was the block? Well, you didn't answer my prayer for the $200 million lottery. Is that going to really sound good? Is that going to fly? Is that going to work? No. Oh, yeah, you're right. I should have bribed you. I'm sorry. Come on in. Yeah, you're right. I should have got it and realized, just taking a mere $200 million for a relationship with you. Okay, no problem. Come on. Doesn't sound right, does it? In Romans chapter 1, verse 18, it says, the wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of the men who suppress the truth by their wickedness. Since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. He's whispered in all our ears. Look at this. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. God said, listen, throw the Bible out. Let's not even discuss the Bible yet. Just take creation alone. The sun rising and setting. Kepler's laws of planetary motion. Superstring theory. Membrane theory. I mean, you go through it all. Just life and a child being born and the miracle of birth, on and on and on. Love and the fact that it's something more than chemical and electrical stimuli. Just think about creation alone. You should believe there's a creator. Amen. You may not know what the creator is from creation, but you get an idea. But at least you should believe from the creation that there is a creator. God said, I'm going to hold you without excuse. You should believe there's a creator.
Yep.
I remember so many times trying to coax chemical reaction in my little 3-neck flasks filled with argon around it, try to get a simple little peptide bond to be made. Almost praying, God, please let this work. This I have that body nature work. And I get all the action, I put enough heck on it. Are you absolutely nuts to think that all this came about by sheer chance? Where do the energy and atoms come from to begin with?
Yep.
Are you really thinking and using the gray matter between the ears? Think about this. Look at creation. It's all just happenstance and some atoms and energy bumping together created that, and love is just chemical, electrical stimuli? Are you serious? You want to go there? Really? That's where you want to go? You got 80 years unless you die earlier, and then you're done, you're back to the elements again, and that's life to you? Are you serious? That's all you want it to be? Don't you have a brain? I mean, our little 15-year-old chihuahua that died a couple months ago, it was at least that advanced. And you can't use your brain for more? Really? You and I are without excuse. God says, just by creation alone, you are without excuse,
Right.
believing there is a creator. It's in a more crude way. It's kind of walking along and you in the desert and you find, let's say, an antique chain and watch. You know, kind of you flip open thing. It's got the little, and you look at it. Wow, this is pretty intricate. Oh, this is a bunch of sand, and here's this watch. I guess the sand just got melted by like a meteor, and somehow some metal popped out of it, and it made this, different, alloy and it just all kind of fell together because it's been billions of years. A lot of meteors hit, so sooner or later it's going to make a stopwatch, right? Or hey, if you got a junkyard and enough tornadoes hit it enough times over billions and billions of years, you all of a sudden, one after one of those tornadoes, you have a fully functional Boeing 747, right? Just happens to. If you put a chip on a piano bench and let it pound on the piano for 5 billion years, eventually he'll bang out Beethoven's Fifth, right? Yeah. No. You and I are without excuse. When I was living in Boston, during the fall, it's beautiful fall, spring too, when the green starts coming back and all the trees and everything starts sprouting. But fall especially, because you have the color line of the trees when the leaves turn colors. And you can actually watch the evening news. And during the weather part of it, they'll have the color lines. You can see the different colors, the greens and yellows and oranges and the brown. And they'll track it coming down so you can know what weekend you want to go out apple picking so you can see all the leaves.
Wow.
And you want to catch the yellows, you want to catch the reds. And they actually track it, for Vermont and New Hampshire and coming down through Western Mass and towards Boston. And you see what colors. So we plan, let's go this weekend and take the group out and the Bible study, the house church. And we'll go out and have a lunch somewhere and we'll go apple picking and we'll see the beautiful tree line. It's just absolutely unbelievable. Everybody does that. It doesn't matter if you're atheist, Christian, some other religion. Everybody likes to do it. Why? Because we've got that awe factor to creation. It's there. Nobody denies that. Oh, that's just energy and atoms bumped together past X number of billions of years. Just poof, there it is. Really? Is that, you're going to go there? It doesn't matter what research professor I've been under, what his name is, her name, how many papers they have their credit, no matter. People don't believe because they don't want to believe. I don't want to be held to this, so I don't believe it. Oh, it was, it was just natural selection. Yeah, that's how things change. Yeah, that's it. Really? You really believe that? I thought you were smarter than me.
Come on, Callie.
That's what it comes down to. Do I want to hear God's voice or don't I? If you don't want to hear, just turn the radio up, accelerate, and drive like nothing's going on. Sooner or later, you'll hit limp home mode. Yeah?
Yeah.
There will be some kind of catastrophic event that will happen in your life. Someone will die. Someone will get sick. Maybe you. Maybe a child. Maybe a loved one. Maybe your own bouts with depression. But something will happen. Why? Because out of God's love, if we don't listen to the gentle whisper, what happens? You think with my children, as they were growing up, if they were to say, Dad, I got this new soccer ball for birthday. Thank you. It's what exactly what I wanted. I'm going to go with my buddies. We're going to go play out on a high five and play the soccer out right there in the lanes. Right, okay? I say, the gentle whisper, no, son, please don't do that. Well, Dad, we'll be back in about an hour, but we'll just go out and do it. We'll play in the interstate. Oh, please don't go on the interstate to play. Bye, Dad. Please don't go on the interstate to play. See you in a little bit. Oh, please don't play on the interstate. Like, get you behind here now. Get over my knee and bring that belt down here. We're taking care of business. You're not going to the interstate to play, and you're never going to do that. Think about that again in your life. Right? He starts walking out the door to go do that. I said, no. No. It's not going to be a gentle whisper any longer. Son, no. Son, DEFCON 5, come here. Right? Why? Because I'm mad at him?
No.
I love him. I'm afraid for him. And his friends. And see, these gentle whispers in life don't just stay a mild whining of the transmission. Things will happen. Instead, though, if we don't want to hear God's voice, we get angry and bitter. And we point at others. They did this, and they said that, and they treat me this way. See, he is like I thought he was. And we start blaming people for our problems. It's because we weren't listening to the gentle whispers. And we still don't listen because now we're pointing the finger at other people and blaming them for the problems we face in life. And we just get more bitter, more angry, more cold, more hard, and therefore we can't even hear those whispers even as much as we used to. If I could, this last point is the three clings. Cling to God, cling to His Word, and cling to other disciples of Jesus. The three clings. If you would, look over to Hebrews chapter 1 with me. Hebrews chapter 1, verse 1. It says, in the past, God spoke to our forefathers, to the prophets at many times and in various ways. But in these last days, that's where we are now, He has spoken to us by His Son, whom He appointed heir of all things. And through Him, He made the universe. The Son is the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of His being, sustaining all things by His powerful word. After He had provided purification for sins, He sat down at the right hand of the Majesty in heaven. Where do we go if we want to know God? If we want to hear God's word plainly in our lives? His instructions, His understanding, how to have a relationship with Him, who He is, understand His love, His forgiveness, His majesty. We go to the Bible, the Word of God. We kind of hit this already a little bit. The idea that it's the most printed book in the world, but the least read. Why? Because we really don't want to hear that voice. Distant whining is all I want to know that's there. I'll get to it one day. Let me turn the radio on. I love what's going on lately in the church. There's been a lot of opportunity to provide ways to be involved with God, His Word, and other Christians. I love the purity groups that Cal and Shanna have been putting together here in Eugene. For a lot of us, I think we're starting to understand that, especially for men, a troubling aspect for many men in our society is the use of pornography. And when we're not clinging to God, His Word, or the Christians, how do we deal with loneliness, disappointment? How do we deal with these internal emotions if we're not with God and other Christians? A lot of us do that. We would say a child does. Oh, he's acting out. Yeah. And we're all going to feel those things. If we're not clinging to the three things we talked about, we're going to cling to something else. We're going to go to a safe place.
Yep.
A comfortable place. A place of distraction. A place of forgetting things for a while. It may not just be pornography. It may be some other things that we should not be involved with. We have to get to the place in life that God is enough. God is enough emotionally for my life.
My Callie.
In spite of popular belief, God really is enough. I don't have to indulge in the things of this world to get by or to satisfy some kind of yearning on the inside. I can go to God and be satisfied if I'll go to Him. If I go to Him, His Word, His people. Do you want that, or are you going to cling to something else?
Amen.
You get that choice. God's not going to make you. He's not going to come rip you off what you're clinging. You come here. I'm dragging you to heaven. Hog time, Jesus. We're dragging them up into heaven. It doesn't work that way. He's not going to make us. He's not going to make you do something you don't want to do. You know, over in Psalm 94, God talks about this. In Psalm 94 and verse 19, when anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought joy to my soul. In other words, you're enough for me, God. Even in times of high anxiety, you are enough. It says down in verse 22, that the Lord has become my fortress, emotional fortress, and my God, the rock in whom I take refuge. Where do you take refuge? Is it with God, His Word, or Christians? Or do you take refuge somewhere else? Where do you take refuge? You get to decide, and God has made it that way. And you have the gentle whispers, but He's not going to make you. Yeah, I love what's going on with things like the singles in campus Bible talks that we have, midweeks, Sundays, the married dinners that have got started. And if you're not having one yet and getting with others, I hope you will. And have the dinner where you have a time to eat and have some dessert, have the kids over, if there are kids in your group, and you talk about life, you talk about your marriage, you talk about where you are with God, and you just bring up what you want to bring up. Or maybe at first you're just listening to what others are saying. I hope you want to be a part of that. Because if you don't, where are you going to find your refuge? Where? Where are you going to find your refuge if you don't? What do you say, preacher? I got to go to those things. I'm telling you, you should want to go to those things. To what will you cling? If you don't cling, I'm not going to try to make you. I've learned that as a young minister. I tried to make people, I'll confess, as a young guy in my 20s and probably early 30s, I tried to make people do what I thought was the right thing. And some people did. But after a while, they end up walking away. And then no longer taking my calls or even answering the door. And I realized people have to want this. They have to want God,
Right.
His Word, and be with other Christians. If you don't want to, that transmission's about to go out. And you're going to be stuck somewhere. You can decide, though, what's going to be most important to you. You get that choice. I love that the church provides all those opportunities, but you have to want to be there. You have to want to be there. You know, we got the idea of prayer partners and discipling partners. I think it's so great when you get together frequently, especially for campus and singles, like once a week, to talk about life, encourage each other, pray together, confess sin. Do the Bible talks and the married dinners. It's there if we want it. So closing, if you go over to me, Isaiah chapter 55. Even though it's just a gentle whisper to which God speaks to us. Notice what it says here in verse 11 of Isaiah 55. So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. It's not a threat that God says, I'm going to make you do what I want. But he says, my word will not return void. It will not return empty. It will not simply accomplish nothing. It will give you the hope and the boundaries and the pathway to relationally if you want it. If you choose not to, then it's still accomplished what I sent it to do. And you'll be held responsible for your own life and what you chose and what you did. My word will not return without effect. It will either call you to this life, so you start taking notice, or it will convict you that you've done what you wanted to do in life without God. You get that choice. I get that choice. Yes, and today is an unapologetic version of trying to persuade you. Absolutely. I'm guilty as charged. Absolutely, that's what I'm trying to do. And for those of us that are busy today and maybe come for the first time or two to church, yes, I'm trying to get you to see a need to sit down with somebody and talk about life, and talk about the Word, and what is God saying to me? What is that whisper trying to say? For those that's been around a while, have been disciples already, repented and baptized into Christ, it's like, I need to keep being in God's Word. And to do well in life in this relationship with God, I need to cling to Him, and cling to His Word, and cling to other Christians. I can't make excuses. And if I do, it's only hurting me. Because that whining noise will never go away. And it'll only get worse. And the only way it'll stop is one day when it can no longer continue. I get the choice about my life. You get the choice about your life. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for loving us. Thank you, give us your voice that's always there in our lives. I pray we will listen. We can all probably point to certain dreams we've had through the years that we remember. Even to this day, we still remember them. Wow, what did that mean? Or something somebody said to us seemingly out of the blue. Wow. Something that stopped us in our tracks in the last few days of our lives. That was profound. You're whispering to us. You want to keep it a gentle whisper. And I pray we'll listen. We'll take heed. We'll make the changes about this relationship with you to make it everything you meant it to be, God. Everything you dream and want it to be. Take this opportunity here. I pray we listen. In Jesus' name.